Welcome to Trips Table Talk episode 2. Today I'm here with...
Hi, my name's Joey Traylor, and I went to high school with both of these fine people, and I'm here to share my story.
Hi, my name is Kylie, and you should recognize me from the last podcast, and I'm excited to be back for another one.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about why should you believe and follow Jesus Christ in the first place. Joey, if you want to kind of talk about something else we're going to talk about today.
Sure. So I want to get into... My point right now is... Do you do... Oh, excuse me. Do you...
We can cut it out.
Yeah, it's good.
Alright.
Doing something that you truly want to do, whether it's a job or your faith or, simply waking up in the morning, is doing what you actually want to do, not what somebody else, what your parents sets up for you, whether you really want to go to college or if you want to go into a job. It's something that you, at the end of the day, sit down and think, yes, I want to do this. This is something I want to commit myself to.
Mm.
And then later on, we're going to hit on how faith without action means nothing.
So first we want to kind of get into, as we kind of build this up, we want to talk about where you've been in your life recently. And I want you to kind of pause and really think about that for a second. Where have you been in your life recently? Are you on a high? Are you doing great? Are you doing amazing? Or is it kind of a low season for you? Are you somewhere in the middle? You guys can kind of answer that if you want, whoever wants to go.
Yeah. Well, some days, everybody has their highs and their lows. Mm-hmm. But the way I look at it is, especially in my case, I kind of just coast throughout the day. I'll have a high moment and then a low moment. It varies throughout the day. I don't have an amazing day or a terrible day. I just call it a day. Because, it's just a day. You have your terrible moments, you have your great moments, and you kind of have your iffy moments where you're kind of but I mean...
And I feel like recently I've been having a lot of good days, and I know that might sound like cliche, how can you have good days, how is that possible? But I think for me, the biggest part is setting little goals and small term goals, so not looking years or months down the road, something just for the day, if I'm in college, so completing, one assignment, it's all right, that's one less thing I have to worry about, so just finding, joy and finding those little accomplishments and stuff like that.
If you're stressed, say you have, with schoolwork, when I was still in school, I'd be stressed, oh my gosh, I have to do 4 math assignments, 6 science assignments, I gotta do this essay, and it's just, you get so overwhelmed and you feel defeated. But if you go, okay, I'm gonna tackle this one thing today, even if it's as small as, okay, I went out and I washed my car today, or I went out and I took my dog out, I made breakfast, you're setting that goal for you. And you're working towards it, because you end up overwhelming yourself and you get nothing done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd say I've been in a really focused, hard-working spot. And it sucks. It's not fun to be in that. I like that you said you're writing down goals or thinking about goals, because I started doing that. I started writing 5 or 6 weekly goals. These weekly goals would be stuff I wanted to focus on this week, but they'd be daily goals. Mm-hmm. So it'd be okay, training till failure in the gym. Making sure I'm getting 2 or 3 videos uploaded this week. Dominating my schoolwork. I like that we're using dominating it, because it puts no way of failure. It means you've been on top of it. It's not getting it done. You're dominating it. So videos, training till failure in the gym. So not just going to the gym, but training till failure. Thinking in depth about these videos, I think is something I've written down. Really focused. And it's not always the most fun thing. Yes, you have moments where it's I did great this week, but in reality, you can sit back and think you're gonna smile and be man, I'm really proud of it. It's not always the most fun spot to be in, but I think it's a great start. I think I wrote a lot of different things I wanted to accomplish for the winter down, and I think I like the winter specifically because it's the last 3 months of the year, right? From October to, I guess, the first day of January, last day of December. Mm-hmm. And most people kind of shut down during this time, right? Because, I'm going to spend time with my family. I'm going to eat a bunch of Christmas cookies. I'm just going to, do whatever. Because, I'll wait till January. But here's my thing, and then we're going to talk about what we're really going to talk about today. Because if you can find a motivation, find a drive, find a focus to focus these last 3 months of the year, right? And then you get to January 1st, you're already going to be motivated simply because January 1st. So now you've worked hard these last 3 months of the year, and now you're going to carry this motivation into a couple months down into the new year. So now you've worked hard 5-6 months out of a year right there, and most people are just getting started. So I think it's really important, like you said, to write your goals down and to kind of go from there. But yeah, so now we're going to kind of dive into this real question. Why should you believe and follow Jesus Christ in the first place? Because, I mean, I could quote unquote go do whatever, have fun. I could go and drink, smoke, party, and those are the stereotypes of, non-Christian people. But you could go and just literally do whatever you want, free will, in college, have a bunch of fun. Why, Joe, you can kind of touch on this. Why should we not do that? Why should you believe?
Well, I feel as though believing is a way to, one, keep yourself in check.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the way I look at it is, if you have somebody upstairs watching you, everything you're doing, you might go, maybe what I'm doing, whether it be I'm out partying with my friends at 1 o'clock in the morning, or I'm drinking or smoking, it's like, is this really the best thing for me?
Do you go to bed happy at night living that life?
Yeah. Do you? I mean, some people do, some people love it. There's people I know that their most enjoyable thing is to go out and, I guess, be a degenerate and then come home and they're all content. So others, they don't want that. I mean, it's just, I guess, it's how you set your own goals.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and drinking's just a specific thing. I mean, it's really cliche, but it's a really specific thing. I asked him, I was like, how do you feel like when you go home after? Like, do you feel good? Like not even, we weren't even talking about Christianity. I was just having a conversation, and I was like, do you feel, like, I was curious. I was like, do you feel good when you go home after that? And she was like, honestly, I feel depressed when I sit there. Like, when I go to sleep, like, I cry before I go to bed after I drink. And I was like, and then you can go, okay, then why do you do it? They're gonna be like, because it's fun, because it's enjoyable. But I like that. You said, if somebody's watching you upstairs, you're gonna want to perform better, not only for yourself, but for the man upstairs. I like that. I like the way that we're thinking, but I want to kind of talk now, because most people see Christianity as a set of rules, right? Kylie, do you want to kind of talk about that really quick? Is it a set of rules, or is there something different that you see in Christianity?
I think it's more of a relationship over a religion.
I like that a
And
lot.
I think because, when God sent his one and only son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross, and he died for us and to save us from our own sin. And that's a relationship. That's not a religion. And the only thing we have to do in return is give him our heart, and then that just connects to what I said of when we believe, we have everything to gain but nothing to lose.
Yeah. I mean, I really like that. So now I want to talk about this. Maybe you're watching this and you've gone, I tried Christianity before, I tried my religion, I tried this, but it didn't really work. How much effort were you really putting into that? Because you can sit here and say, I've tried that and it didn't work, but think back really quick to when you were in that phase, however long it was that you were trying that. How much effort were you really putting in? Because it's thought, nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you say you were putting, maybe that you think about it now, you go, man, I really wasn't putting that much effort in. Yeah. So nothing's going to change in your life. Nothing's going to change in how you feel at night. Nothing's going to change if you don't change anything.
Exactly. It's like somebody saying, oh, I'm going to change my lifestyle. I'm going to wake up earlier. Saying and doing things are completely different. Saying you're going to wake up and actually waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym before school or before work or something, that's the effort. And that's where the change comes from. When you put zero effort in, you get zero change.
I also think starting every day brand new. Because when you get to this, I'm going to be this big Christian. First of all, let me say this right off the bat. Changing your whole life is not going to be easy. It's not going to be simple, and you're not going to like it.
No, not at all.
People don't grasp this. I want to be this big Christian. I want to praise my hands. I want to stand up, and I want to be like that. Okay, that's great. Yeah. And then tomorrow at 4 a.m., tomorrow in the middle of the afternoon, tomorrow night when they got to open their Bible and go, man, I really want to read this. I don't understand it. I don't feel it. Okay, are you opening it? Are you calling somebody? Hey, asking questions. Are you trying to actually comprehend it? This is where the effort comes, as you were just talking about. Are you, hey, whoever, like, that you know that's into this, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Like, are you asking questions? Are you diving into it? Which is where this effort comes in. This is where it's about this relationship. Because when you're opening this and you're reading it, it's not about, okay, I did that today. I didn't do that today, so maybe tomorrow I'll do that. No, because this is what he wants. He wants this relationship with you, which, when we can talk about this now, why in the world should you believe in the first place? I see it as just taking a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I knew we were talking about that earlier. If you want to kind of dive into what that means to you specifically.
Yeah. And like I said before, we have everything to gain but nothing to lose. And when we take that step and we believe in Christ, we're receiving, like you said earlier when you were talking about, you asked a friend, how do you feel when you go home at night after drinking? And she was like, well, I feel depressed. And then you're like, why do it in the first place? She said that she felt happy, but that's a temporary happiness.
That's big.
Like when we follow Christ, we're getting this lifetime of fulfillment and happiness, and that's true joy. And that's where you start to realize, like, this is what I want. We sit here and we have our own ideas of what happiness and joy and what that perfect life looks like. But until I think you take that step with Christ, you kind of get the real idea of, like, my eyes are fixated on Him, and now I'm finding, my purpose, basically,
And I feel as though there is no perfect life.
Thank you.
Nobody.
That's
huge. Yeah.
It's just me looking at your life. I think your life's perfect, but I don't.
Which a lot of people will not tell that to me, but that's a real thing. They look at somebody who's quote unquote overly Christian, overly religious. Oh, he always does the right things. He always makes phrases. He must have it perfect.
Yeah.
So
when I look at you, you always look happy. You're always carrying yourself high. I think this man has the perfect life, but you don't know what each person struggles with behind closed doors. I don't know what you deal with. You don't know what I deal with, and vice versa.
Yeah. So we can't expect the same results
Exactly.
through our journey because we're not experiencing the same things.
If you want to look at somebody's perfect life, you have to look in the mirror and look at yourself, because that's the only perfect life you're going to get is your own, in my opinion. You can't look at other people and compare yourself because no one person's the same.
to go off that, Joey, you can answer this however you want to answer it. You can go as deep as you want or kind of as, not as deep as you want. But what's one of the hardest things you've ever been through? You can think on it for a second and we can talk about something else, but I really want to hear your heart. Because we're talking about why you should believe in the first place, right? And I'll talk about something else while you kind of think about that. So the high of social media, I really want to talk about this. Because you can even see it in my own videos. I'm guilty of this. I don't show, which I need to start doing a lot more of, I don't show the down moments, man, when I go home. And to be honest, I don't even want to touch this. Okay, I just got out of work, I'm serving now, so it's like, okay, I just worked from 4 in the afternoon to 11:30 at night. I'm getting home at midnight. I didn't read this morning because, I didn't feel like it. I was out all day, so it's like, but that's where this relationship comes in. That's where your commitment, that's where your effort, everything we're talking about. So this thing on social media where you see these 1-minute TikToks, oh my gosh, they're like, God, I love you, I'm praising you, we talked about this in the first one, but it's just so frustrating because people base their faith and what they think it's going to feel like off of this 1-minute TikTok, which that was a minute, that was a glimpse. We were talking about this. That was a glimpse of their life that you saw in a 60-second TikTok. You don't see what their week looks like. You didn't see what the months leading up to that 1 minute of filming a camera looked at. And it's like, the reason I believe personally, is we talked about taking a chance because I wanted those moments, right? I wanted to feel what that felt like. And to have been a believer now for my whole life, I can say I've had those moments. And in those moments when you feel just connected, you feel loved, and you feel like the man above is with you, there's just something about the way that feels, there's something about the fulfillment I've gotten from that. That is why I still continue to pursue that rather than pursuing all these other things that I could be doing as I'm in college now.
And I think another point to try to remember is that, our relationship shouldn't be in a box, because I feel like even myself, I put my relationship in this box with God and I'm just like, you know what, it should be perfect. It should be this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's
in reality,
limitations.
There's limitations, but we also make it seem like it has to be formal and very, strict and
churchy.
Stuff like that. Churchy, exactly. And in reality, that is not what it's like. It's going to be hard, and we'll dive into this later as well. But also another thing, God's not this, he's perfect, don't get me wrong, but he's not sitting up there high and mighty on his throne looking down on us and going, shame on you.
Well, when he died, I saw the video this the other day, this is really good. When he died on the cross with his arms stretched wide and took his final breath and he rose again. He died for not the sin that you're going to do right now, not the sin you've already done, and not just the sin you're about to do. He died for this sin, that, all at once.
Exactly.
When he took his final breath, he was dying, saying, you know what, no matter what, because I already know what they're going to do, and I'm accepting it right now, that they're going to do this awful thing, they're going to be a part of these awful things, but you know what, I'm going to forgive them. And he made that decision in that moment.
Off of the off chance that we look at him
off
and,
chance.
Give him our heart. And like I said, we just think that it has to be perfect, but it's not. Like, he sees the world. He knows that it's broken, and he's not going to look at you and go, shame on you. Like, yeah, there's going to be moments where you're going to think, I shouldn't have done this, or why did I do this? But in the end, he's not going to,
Judge you
at the end. Like, it's having a conversation, and that's where prayer comes in, and reading the Bible,
having that openness with
Yeah.
him.
Exactly. So I think
Showing
for
your
me,
weakness.
just not putting my relationship in this box and expecting it to be formal, because I'm never going to be perfect. I can't be this formal person. So for me to have this idea of, oh my gosh, I need to be perfect in order to have a conversation with him, or for him to accept me, that's crazy, because in the end I wouldn't get anywhere, because I'm never going to be perfect,
And it's like when you said about your point with putting it in a box and keeping it away, it's like trying to grow a plant in a dark closet. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to flourish. It's going to die.
So now that we've kind of painted this picture now, Joey, what's one of the hardest things you've ever been through?
Honestly, the past few minutes I've been thinking about it, and it's probably going through and watching my sister's addiction throughout the probably 10 years or so. I mean, I'm only 19, so you gotta think I've been seeing that stuff since I was 9, 10 years old. Seeing how my sister's strung out or gone for months and then comes back, overdoses in the lawn, whatever. Stuff like that. It's, when you're young, it takes a toll on you. It's pretty tough when you have somebody that's addicted to drugs. I mean, most of my family that's had problems with that. Either it's drugs or drinking or whatever. I mean, it's tough on somebody that's young, and it's hard to look at that and just think, wow, this is the life I live in. And I guess the way I always looked at it is that I have two roads in my life. I have the way of my sister, or I have the way that I know that's right, the way that I've learned through all the trials and tribulations of all the people in my life that have screwed up on this or messed up on this part. I take from that and I go, this is what I'm not going to do, because this is how I'm going to turn out. And I mean, stuff like that, addictions, it's a good, I want to say, reminder to you, because you look at it and you go, this is how my life could go if I didn't do this, if I didn't turn to faith. Some people go from addiction to faith. Faith saves them. I mean, it's a tough situation. But that's probably one of the toughest things probably one of the toughest things I've ever had to deal with.
That's trauma.
Yeah.
Right there, and I respect you for saying that in front of a camera and expecting that. Yeah, thank you for saying that, because so now I kind of want to ask you, where did you want to turn watching through that? Going through that, what did you want to do that would fulfill you? What did you want to do? And I mean, this might be what you did too, but
not end up like my sister. I mean, that's kind of crude, but that's...
Which is a great motivator, because you didn't want to be...
That.
You watched... This is hard, because you watch somebody so close to you, and whether you're close to a loved one or... Not loved one, I guess that kind of sounds really cliche, but if you're close to a family member or not, they're still family at the end of the day. I don't really like when people say that, but I guess it's real. So it's like... It's hard to watch somebody that you're supposed to love, or you do love, go down a road like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's a big motivator. So now, where are you looking at going with your life now? Now that you've talked about this now, you've been through this for a decade, you've watched this for a decade now. So I'm sure you've had some great moments. I'm sure you've had some not so good moments. But where do you think your life's kind of leading you now?
I think the way that I've set myself up and the way that people in my life have set me up, I think my life is going to take me down the right path, because I've had all these examples, and that's what I see them as. I see them as examples. You know, when you have good examples in your life or good role models, it takes you down the right path. I mean, when you have nowhere else to turn
The way out.
besides down a dark path, that's why you should believe, because that gives you the way out. I mean, not necessarily a way out of your situation, but it's a way for you to escape. It's a way for you to vent when you don't have anybody else in your life to talk to. I mean, there's multitude of reasons why you should believe. I mean, everybody has their own reasons.
So, I know we're kind of beating around the bush, right? We've been doing this build up. Okay, why should I believe, right? Landon, you haven't given me this answer. I'm watching this for this reason because I'm struggling in my life and I want this reason. We talked about taking the chance that there's a way out. Because you just talked about you had this tough situation that you've had to go through and you're still going through, but there's a way out. Okay, what do you mean? What do you mean there's a way out? There's a way to feel fulfilled. And you can say it's a myth, you could say it's not true, but let's go back to the social media videos. Let's go back to these high moments that we talk about are so bad things. If you look at these videos on the internet and you see somebody in this amazing, incredible mood and just are praising, you're telling me watching that, you're telling me you're going to watch that and go, there's no God. You know? Like, just watching somebody else be fulfilled. I mean, the way that everything was created, you can go out and make, as cliche as it is, you can look at a sunrise, you can look at a sunset, you can go and see everybody around you laughing and smiling, the beautiful weather outside. I mean, just, there's so many things that it just doesn't make any sense that they were created if there was no God. But my real answer is I'm going to say the fulfillment. And that there's a way out of everything I've ever had to go through. And I honestly love the idea of faith specifically, which to me is believing in something above you when it makes no sense. So believing in Jesus to get me out of whatever it is when it makes absolutely no sense. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to test yourself when you could just go and party and feel good, right? Because I understand that I'm going to leave this earth at some point, right? I can leave this earth and go, man, I partied it away and I had a great time. But when you're 90, you know, if you make it that far, you're going to be sitting in this bed going, man, I did all of that for what? Because I can't go back and relive it now. And now I'm just sitting here by myself. Like we talked about, everyone has to go to their bed at night and sit there and think. So my reason on why you should believe in Jesus Christ and follow this religion, and I hate the word religion, actually. Why you should build this relationship that we were talking about with Jesus is because there's a fulfillment that you haven't felt yet, and it's because you haven't gone all into it. Mm-hmm. So once you pick this up and you're reading it and you're calling somebody, hey, I have a question about this, or you're sitting there until you figure it out, or you're going, God, give me a sign, something. When you put this effort in, when you dive into this, I have personally been fulfilled.
And I want to touch on your point of fulfillment, and correct me if this sounds incorrect. It doesn't always have to be 100%. Mm-hmm. Fulfillment is what you make of it, whether it's, oh, I wanted to accomplish this today. I wanted to clean my whole house, but I was only able to clean my living room.
But there's still, yes, because you still got something done, which goes back to these goals on this piece of paper. Mm-hmm. I might not. You know what? I might have gotten 5 out of 6 of these goals done, and the biggest one I didn't accomplish. Yeah. And we go, well, I'm a failure now.
Whatever you write down as a goal you want to accomplish doesn't mean anything until you actually make the effort to accomplish something.
So this way out, this kind of fulfillment, Joe, is there anything else you want to kind of add to this? And then Kylie, you're going to go right after this. Why give somebody a reason to believe? Somebody that's just like, okay, I'm kind of tiptoeing around this thought. I've always wanted to be a Jesus person. But if you guys want to kind of give a reason on why.
I feel like the reason could be many. It could be something major from maybe a loss of a family member in a terrible way that makes you want to push a relationship with Christ more. Or if it could be something small as, oh, I helped this old lady on the side of the road today when nobody else would. And that just made me wonder, what more could I be doing? Or something, there's thousands of reasons why you should. And it's just you gotta pick which one you want to take. No, you're fine.
And I think for me, there's like 2 points. Is one, I think it just gives us a purpose in life. Because I feel 100%. Like at times we can just look at this and go like, oh, I have a job and I'm working, I'm making money, but in the end, we can't take that with us. So what's it for? Why are we doing this? So I feel like it gives us a purpose to life, and it gives us a reason to keep going.
And you can never maximize your faith.
Exactly.
It's the most beautiful thing. When somebody asks me, well, Lane, like, why do all this in the first place? Because you can never maximize it. Yeah. There's never a point where I can sit there. I grew up in a church. I was blessed to be in that life, and I never desired to go away. Like that's been a blessing. I'm so thankful for that. But I was so blessed to be in that part and to be in that environment and to enjoy that. But it's just, there's no reason for me to go away if there's always something to chase with your faith and your relationship with Christ, because we talk about it. It's a relationship. And with your best friend, you can always get closer. You can always build a better bond. There's always something else that he can know. There's always something else that she can help you out with.
And I feel as though, like, in life, like with monetary things, or like your job or your house or what you want to buy, you're always going to reach a limit to what you can get. The nicest house, the nicest car, the nicest job. But I mean, like you're saying, you can never reach the limit with your faith.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Like, you will hit your peak in life, and you can't take nothing. You can't take nothing with you when you die. But if you're working your whole life with your faith, I mean, you're working for something that is a purpose. I mean, and yeah, working your job's a purpose. To live is a purpose. But I mean, at your end goal, once you're gone, what do you have?
Yeah, and when you're fired from that job, or the company goes,
any
just
of that
in destruction,
gone like that.
Bang, like that. Like you just said, you can be as random as it is, but you can be shot, you can have an injury, anything can go wrong at any time.
But
what's your backbone?
Your faith.
Which is a beautiful answer. Like, and I'm not asking this to actually answer, but it's like, what are you going to stand on when, oh my gosh, I have this great job, this great car, which we were just talking about. I have all these great things. And so, okay, well, that person left your life,
the way
right?
I look at it is, what do you have when you have nothing left?
That's beautiful.
You have God.
Well, right here, I was reading it last night, Proverbs 11, and you were talking about this, Kylie. Wealth is worthless in the day of the wrath, right? And then you were talking about this, and it connected beautifully, which is right here, a moment right there. I couldn't even have staged that if I wanted to. That showed me God's will, because right there, in the span of 30 seconds, you just said wealth is worthless, right? Which is right here. And then if I flip it over to the next page, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. You just talked about the old lady example. I could have made that up if I wanted to on the spot, dude. And you were like, man, I helped this girl, like you were making it up. But, I helped her across the street, so I just refreshed somebody else. So now I'm going to be refreshed.
Exactly, yeah.
And it goes on, a generous person will prosper. That's something I want to talk about really quick, because once you get to this point where you're making better money than you've ever made, you're being blessed, it's easy to be like, oh, I want to take all that money for what, right? Yeah. A generous person will prosper, so it's like...
It's as easy to walk by a homeless man as it is as easy to put change in that man's cup. It's all just based on how much of what type of character you are.
And you never know. Yes, we go, but what if they're not really homeless? That $5 bill that's been sitting in your wallet for 3 weeks, dude, it is not doing nothing but sitting there.
And it's not for us to judge what they do with it.
Yeah, I have a good example here. In that exact situation, I was at the bank one day at work. I was doing a deposit, and I was in Ocean City, and this gentleman walked up to me, and he goes, "Hey man," he knocks on my window, and I was a little startled at first. Yeah. Obviously, I'm middle of town. But he's like, "Hey man, you have $2 so I can catch the bus for the rest of the day?" Ocean City, you're riding the bus.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any ones on me. I had a $5, and I was like, "Well, it's only $5." Is he telling the truth?
And the value to him might be up here, but the value to you might be down there. Somebody said that to me one day, but they didn't tip me when I was serving. And the coworker was like, "Well, I like to think of it as they need that money a lot more than you did." And I was like, I can't really argue with that.
And some people's arguments are like, "Oh, well, if you can't tip, then why'd you go out to eat?" But it's like,
yeah, you just never know. Like, maybe that's someone's, like...
last money or last amount of whatever.
Now, I'm not going to say they should go out to eat, because I would like the money too.
Yeah.
However, it's this point that something you have, little $5 bill that you haven't touched, it's just
you have
there.
No idea how much of impact it's going to make on that person's day. Like when I gave him that $5, he was like, "Oh my God, man, are you sure?
Fulfillment.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I can ride the bus all day and probably tomorrow." I was like, "Yeah, no problem, man." He was like, he's like, "People like you in this world are amazing." He's like, "We need more people that are kind." And I felt amazing in that moment. I mean,
Fulfillment right there.
I
Because
felt-
you refresh somebody else.
I felt wonderful. I was like, wow, I walked in that bank with a big old smile. on my
Which,
face.
whenever, 2,000 years ago when this book was written, somebody goes, oh, what did I just say? When you refresh somebody else, you will be refreshed too. Perfect example right there, that was written right there. And then the wealth is worthless. You just talked about that. So now we're building this up, when the wind meets fire. It's a song by Elevation Worship, and I've been listening to it on repeat. Kyla, we had a conversation about this song. When the wind meets fire. I'm going to kind of pull up the lyrics as I talk about it. But to me, it goes, when the wind meets fire. So when the wind meets, I'm going to try and talk and look it up at the same time. So it talks about the build up, and it talks about let my life be an altar. So breathe on me. So breathe in me, right? Breathe your life in me. Lift up my lungs with your praise. Let my life be an altar. This is the moment where the wind meets fire. Come on in. Our hearts are burning for fresh revival. Blow again. This is when the wind meets fire. Our God is a holy wind. Whatever you speak is done. Whatever you touch will live. Our God is a consuming fire. So in my head, when I read that, it goes, when everything comes together, when your effort comes together, when you're giving everything you have, when you're opening this, when you're calling somebody for help, when you're going all in, when you're going, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice those fun moments because I'm going to take a chance that this works. And you go all in, and now you're fulfilled because everything is coming together. The wind is meeting the fire, and then all of a sudden you have that social media moment. Whether you post the video or not, or you record it or not, you go, man, I feel great in this moment. And because it's just this reward of this relationship, and it's this beautiful moment. Because I know you've had beautiful moments with your best friends before, but now it's like, oh wow, I just had a beautiful moment with Jesus, and I was sitting in my room alone, and nobody else is going to understand that. But you know what? That fulfilled me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason that I believe, because it's like, I just had this beautiful moment, nobody's going to understand it, and I don't really care that nobody understands it, because I was fulfilled by that.
Yeah. And I feel as though when the wind meets the fire, my interpretation is that's when you welcome Christ into your life. When the wind, you're at that crossroads of, do I step forward into more temptation, step further away from Christ, or do I abandon all of that, make that step? It's not that you're saying, you're taking that step forward, and you're welcoming it into your body, into your life. That's when you're gonna have the most confliction with yourself.
Yeah.
Is in that moment.
Which I like that, because you can stand up and you can go, okay, well, I'm going to take this step forward, which is just tomorrow. I can take this step forward, or, you know what, it's too much for me.
Yeah, I'm just
gonna go back.
Forget about it.
But on the other side of this wall that's standing right in front of you, there's all this fulfillment. There's everything else over it. It's beautiful.
But you can't just take that. You have to earn it.
Exactly. You have to
that
put
wall.
this effort in. You have to seek wholeheartedly.
You have to pick that hammer up and start hitting that wall.
And I truly believe if you put all of this effort in, if you start going all in, and you really, truthfully give it a shot, and I don't mean one day, I mean for a few months. It's the last few months of the year, really, what do you have to lose? You can start January again and be like, man, I'm just going to party again. Right?
I'll just do it. I'll just do it next year.
New year, new me, bro.
Exactly. That's the dumbest
Hate
thing I've
that.
ever
Thank
heard in my
you.
life.
Somebody had to say it, dude. Hate that mindset.
It's a new year, but there is no new you. You are the exact same person you were yesterday.
So why wait till the stupid January 1st to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a believer now?
I've never understood that, the New Year's resolution, because
I hate it
because
so much, dude.
do you ever have a deadline, like when we were still in high school? You ever look and I have SATs next week. You're stressing the whole. I bet you two were stressing.
Oh boy.
I was carefree. It was in the Lord's hands in my eyes.
Word, bro.
But I think I know where you're going with this.
I feel like I should
It's
know
like
the song.
you accept it and you want to breathe it out.
Oh,
yourself.
light up my lungs with your praise. I feel like that's our goal. We want that. That's, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. I feel like I'm being
both of you are connecting.
Yeah.
You want to breathe this in, right?
Yeah.
So you can breathe it out in other people.
Mm.
Which is so beautiful, because you just talked about this. Oh my gosh, you fulfilled this old lady. I'm going to go back to this example again. You fulfilled this older gentleman, right? You fulfilled this person, and there's nothing, I think, because this is going to be a really good example. Say this man found this $5 bill just laying on the ground. He picked it up. Oh, he's happy. He's cool. I get to ride the bus for, 2 days. But since a person, a human,
made that decision to
Uh-huh.
give them money that they worked for.
which is Jesus working, there's more fulfillment because he used a human, which he used a Christ follower than just a $5 bill.
Because somebody else showed you compassion instead of just your luck.
I agree with that a lot.
And that goes back to like what we said in the last podcast is like God's gonna work through people we probably would never imagine him to use, and he would bring them into our life and they would impact us so tremendously.
I mean, it's the same way that we're here. I mean, Joey,
Yeah.
me and you would talk every morning in Bosworth's room. Don't get me wrong. It's like, oh, what's up, bro? How you doing? You know, good morning. But and outside of class, a few classes we had together, I hadn't seen you, hadn't talked to you since graduating high school. But I remember praying, going, God, show me who you want in this episode 2 of this podcast. Because once the first one was done, it was like, all right, this is amazing. But it was like, God, I remember actually, I went to work and somebody said, it was like an adult, not somebody freshly 18, but they were like, they said, or they have kids, so they said, now I'm not against religion at all, but tell me why I personally should believe in this. And when I said that, I was like, I'm not going to be able to give you an answer right this second, but I took that and I was like, okay, there we go. Because I remember just praying, God, show me what you want me to talk about. Show me what you want it to be. And then I was like, okay, here's something. There's a topic. Okay, God, who do you want to be a part of it? And I remember going, who's somebody that's going to have a perspective and experiences I don't have? And you, Joey, popped in my head. And I was like, bingo. And it took a while for us to get here because we all have so conflicting schedules.
Oh, yeah.
But when we got here, I mean, this conversation's been beautiful. And it's just crazy how it all works.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've had a wonderful time. I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to you two after graduation.
And to me, everything that's been said, that's hit somebody in their heart not going to.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw this out there. I always look at things in life as everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you were born, everything that's happening in your life was written at that very moment. And you just have to live it out. There's nothing you can do to change it. Even if you think, oh, well, if I do this differently, maybe... No. Everything that you're doing has already been... It's already happened. You just have to live it out. I mean, there's nothing... You just have to make do with what you can and deal with it. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of beginning to somewhat kind of wrap this up, but I have this written down in my notes too, which doesn't even go along with anything else that we've talked about, but it goes, stop talking in your head to God and pray out loud, which I think goes really hand in hand with us building this relationship, because there's a difference in your desire, there's a difference in, I guess, what's the word for it, not your desire, but how much you want something. There's a difference in how desperate there it is. There's a difference in how desperate you are when you're going in your head, God, thank you for this day. Thank you for your safety. I want to pray for a good night's sleep. And then out loud, when you go, God, I need you because there's nothing else. My job fell through. My family's falling apart. My best friend's gone at college. God, I have nothing left. There's a difference in what that does with your relationship when you're desperate and you're speaking out loud than what you are when you're just going in head. Because I'm guilty of this. I pray in my head all the time, but it's not deep.
Yeah. I mean, even I've noticed, just me personally, like whenever, like I'll pray in my head sometimes, like, I'll close my eyes and I'll give myself a little prayer, but I mean, there's a few times where I'll clasp my hands and I'll pray out loud. And I can just feel it's different because instead of just me keeping it in my head and thinking it, I'm actually confessing it.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that I want to add to just why should you believe? And my answer to that, my response was, why not? Why not? And another thing I want people to kind of think about when, if you decide to take your own step and, follow Christ, and maybe it's just something as simple as finding a Bible, buying one, maybe starting to read it if you have one. Do not take other people's hurt, their pain, or their experiences and turn that into your own opinion and belief. Because I know so many people have so many opinions and stereotypes about church and about God and stuff like that. I get it. But at the end, it's a relationship between you and God, and no one else's opinion should be in between, because that's going to block you from getting to Christ.
And at the end of the day, you have to see something for yourself to actually believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So why believe something that you've never seen? And I'm not saying that, call everybody that's saying this or this accusation, this stereotype or whatever, say, oh, you're lying. You're lying because I haven't seen it. No, but you can't just pull the wool over your eyes and just blindly believe something because you've heard 10 people say it. Until I actually see it from myself, I'm not going to believe it. I'll hear you out. I'll put it in the back of my mind, but I'm not going to set in stone, this is what it is now, not until I have my own perception of it.
Which then one of these final thoughts, I was reading in Proverbs, if sinful men entice you, do not give in to them. So, Joey, I really, really want to question you here too. How important is it to be careful with who you hang out with?
The people you hang out with drastically impacts your life. I mean, my own example, I used to hang out with my friends. They drink and smoke all the time. I mean, I ain't saying nothing, but
But you would want to do what they do because that's who you're around, and you're not gonna feel a part of them anymore if they're over here doing all this. But no, you're still over here.
I look at it, I look and I go, man, they're having so much fun. Look, they're laughing, they're enjoying themselves. These are my friends. These are the people I love. That has a major impact on you. If you're looking at somebody that you really love and that you really see as a really close friend or a family member or something, the stuff they do rubs off into you. You might not even realize it. In the way you talk, your mannerisms, the way you dress, the way you present yourself, it's all based on the people you hang out with, the people you fraternize with. Now, if you hang out with very Christian or godly or non-sinful people, obviously that's going to rub off on you. I mean, like your home life, so and so. But if you hang out with sin, and you invite sin into your life and into your heart, it's going to corrupt you and it's going to take over. I mean, and there's people that I know that have gone down the path of no return, as you can say, because you've fully accepted that sin and that.
There's nothing else for you.
Exactly, because that's what they see themselves as. They see it as, I have nothing else in my life. This is the only thing that's meant for me. But that's not true at all. You can always achieve something you want to.
Which goes right back to that thought. At the end of the day, everybody has to sit there and go, am I happy with my life? And I want to say more often than not, and not just believers and non-believers, people go and sit at home at the end of the night and go, man, sit in their bed, I'm really not honestly happy with where I'm at. And I want to say that because you're not giving your all what you wanted. You talked about this at the beginning. You're not giving your all into what you're doing. You're not kind of really giving a care in the world. You're not having this beautiful moment, which when the wind meets fire, when you accept Christ, when you go all in and you take that step, which there's going to be a moment, which it might be right now for you, when you have to sit there and go, I'm really going to give this a shot. I really, really am. Because think about it. Most people have, at one point in their life, tried to give it a shot. And the effort wasn't there. So no wonder you didn't grow this relationship, because it's the same way as it works with your friend. If you're not reaching out, you're not having a conversation.
They're not going to reach back out to you.
And if you're not...
It's not a one-way street.
And I get sick of this because when we pray, I do this too. It's like, God, give me this. I want this. God, help me with this. Help me not do this. Help me say this. Help me not say these things. And it's like, Landon, all you're doing is asking. So if all I'm doing is asking my friend for something, if all I'm doing is asking him for money, or if all I'm doing is asking him for advice, as bad as it sounds, he's not going to want to be friends with me anymore.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the only thing God asks from you is just to believe in your faith.
And to follow him.
And many people, they ask, God, I want this, that. Can you give me this? All this and that. But, you just can't. It's just not how it works. You can't just take. You have to give. And you have to take what you can get. It's not just, oh, God didn't give me my definitive answer on, I didn't get exactly what I wanted, so, it's not real, it doesn't work. No, you have to, he gave me this piece so I can use this to build for the rest. It's like, he gives you some, but you have to take that effort and you have to push it forward yourself.
And I truly believe when you have this moment, when the wind meets the fire and everything comes together, when you find that fulfillment that I've been talking about, which you probably won't understand what I'm talking about until you have that moment, and in that moment, there is nothing else you want. And it's rare that you have those moments. We talk about how they're on social media, but that was the 1 minute of their life that you've seen in the last 3 months of it. But when you have that moment, that would be something you would not want to let go. And once you grasp onto that and you go, that's what a relationship with Christ is like. You're just not gonna let
And
that
I
go.
feel like sin has a very big impact on that. Because if you say, oh, I want this, I want this, I want that, that's when, it's on the other side of the door. Sin's behind you, tapping on your shoulder, saying, well, you can have all this now. You can have all the drugs in the world, all the alcohol, all the debauchery or whatever, so be it. Or you can make that mental choice of just, no.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but anytime you've fallen into any type of sin, no matter if it was a sexual sin, if it was a drinking sin, if it was a smoking sin, if it was saying words that you shouldn't have said, if it was just being in an environment that was just so sinful you couldn't even stand it, whenever you leave that place or after you've done that thing, write me if I'm wrong, but have you ever really truly been fulfilled?
Never. No, not at all.
My point. So it's like, if you're not fulfilled, and this is such a beautiful thought. And I was thinking about it the other day, and it was with lust specifically, is the conversation I was having with somebody. And we were talking about this, and we're like, without saying it, but saying it, I'm going to say, the reason you keep running back to lust, the reason you keep running back to drinking, the reason you keep running back to whatever it is, that video you're watching or the action you're doing or something you know you shouldn't be doing, the reason is because it hasn't fulfilled you, but it's never going to. Mm-hmm. The reason you want to go back and watch that again, the reason you want to go back and do that again, is because guess what? It didn't fulfill you. And if it hasn't already fulfilled you, after all those times of doing it, it's not going to.
And then you have that hunger inside of you that wants more, takes more, and it'll take until eventually you break. I mean,
and there's nothing
same
less.
way with
There's
drug
nothing.
addiction.
And there's nothing more. There's no more.
Yeah.
There's no harder of a drug to have. There's no more to see on this screen that you're watching. There's nothing else to drink. You've had the hardest drink you can have, and guess what? There's nothing else that you can get anymore.
That can make you have that fulfillment.
Yeah.
So then you're lost, and then you become lost.
And
I feel
then
that's what many people are doing. They get so wrapped up in addictions or smoking or so and so, and then they get so far down the loop they can't crawl themselves back out, and then they just think, oh, I'm nothing, I have nothing, I will be nothing.
which is wrong because there's a way out.
Yeah.
Which is what we've been talking about this whole time. When the wind meets the fire, when you truly go all in and you believe and you give it a shot, which I encourage you, seriously, give it a shot.
Yeah.
It might not be for you and it might not work for you.
And coming from a pretty negative person, you have to have positivity in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't walk into something, especially faith, whether it's, you can't walk into work angry. I mean, if you had a bad day yesterday, you leave it at home.
So what?
It's like, you have to, every day you wake up thinking, today's a new day. I will accomplish something new. No matter what gets thrown at me, I will overcome it. If you can't do that, then I mean, what are you doing? Because you're not challenging yourself.
Alright, so as we kind of wrap this all up now, I want you to think about one more time. I want you to really think deep here. What are you praying for? When you go, God, because if you're not an overly religious person, when you pray, it's obviously going to be rare. So there's something important that you're asking, because you're going to somebody you don't ever talk to, and you're going, God, this is your last resort. So God, what does that prayer look like? What do you pray for? What do you ask for? To be great at this, to be successful here, to make a lot of money, to be great at your sports, to do well on your math test. I mean, whatever it is, there's something deep inside that you go, God, help me with this. Okay, if it's you really want to reach a level of success that's rare that people reach that. If you're really praying for something that's very difficult to get to, guess what? You're going to have to go through the hardest thing you've ever been through. And guess what? You're going to do it again and again and again. And that's just simply what it is to get to what you're praying for.
Because it's also a test to your faith.
Mm-hmm.
A test to see if you truly want what you're praying for. It's not just that you're praying just to have it. It's, okay, you're praying to have this, now show me that you want it.
Thank you. I like that because there was a moment in my own life where I remember being like, God, okay, this is beautiful. I remember it was the year 2023. I think it was the beginning of last year. And I was like, God, help me take my faith to the next level. And I remember praying that, and it was serious. It was like, and I did it all year. All year I went deep, and I took my faith. The jump I made in that year was incredible. And this is coming from somebody who's always been in faith. You know what I mean? So this is a real commitment that was 365 days a year, right? And I remember being like, God, there's just one thing that I don't want to go back through. And there's something that God, you, between me and you, God, you know what this thing is. And I paused, and this is probably one of the biggest prayers I've ever prayed. I said, God, but if it takes going back through that again to elevate my faith, I will do it.
I like that.
And guess what? It didn't happen in January. It didn't happen in February. And it didn't happen in March. By the end of April, he put me back through that. So what you just said, tested your faith. That's exactly what that was. Because
Just gave me goosebumps.
he didn't do it when I was hot and on fire. He
did
waited
it.
4 months into the year when April was about to wrap up and
It's
said,
truly test. Yeah.
and said, hey, are you serious?
Now show
And,
me. Yeah.
and I was. And guess what? We continued to walk through that. And we've walked through that again. And it showed me how it really was. Because I remember praying that prayer. And I remember when this thing came back in my life and I said, God, you're real, because I prayed that prayer and I was serious. And I said, God, if it takes this one thing, and I paused and I was like, man, I don't want to walk back through that battle again. But if it takes that, yeah.
And at the end of the day, you come out stronger and more. You realize, okay, maybe next time I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having that fear, you conquer something. It's not overwhelming or taking. It's conquering. Like I like how you say you want to use very powerful words. If you conquer something, that means you overcome it.
Which goes back to, what are you praying for? What are you asking for? Because if it's something huge, if it's something great, if it's something successful, are you willing to do what you're signing up for? Right? Because to be great, to be successful, you're going to have to go through the hardest thing you've ever been through, and you're going to have to do it time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
And every business person will tell you that. Every successful athlete will tell you that. Every person who's ever reached a level of success that rare people reach will tell you that.
And what does it do in the end? It makes you stronger than you were before.
And never once have I heard somebody that's been through something really difficult, never once in my life have I heard somebody say, I wish I didn't go through that. When they get through it, they go, you
It
know
wasn't as
what?
bad as I thought.
And I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for listening so much. This was something that I prayed about, and it actually became a reality. So thank you, Joey, for pouring your heart out and being here. Kylie, thank you again. Is there anything else you guys want to kind of say as we wrap this up? Any final thoughts or anything?
I'm all good.
Okay. All right, thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.